What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. So the new patch just hit, right? 6.17. There were some pretty big buffs and nerfs, I think, but like some of them are obvious, right? Today I want to look at the ones that don't seem that big but might make the champions a lot better. This is another video with Paul Window. Before we get started, the site that I've teamed up with where you can earn rewards for literally just playing League, like paysafecards, headsets, mice, games as well. It is right approved, so don't worry about that. And I have my challenges up on the site right now for you guys to join. You sign up, you play normal ranked games, and you can earn stuff under the challenges. The password for my ones is 1987. As always though, every time I mention a sponsor, I'm going to give back to you guys. So we've got paysafecard to give away. Comment down below to be entered and like the video if you want to. Okay, so the first thing actually is not really the underrated stuff, but basically the towers have changed in 6.17 and they were at the very bottom of the patch notes. I think a lot of people probably like skipped over it, and I think you actually need to know it. So how towers used to work, right? Like even when you were next to it, if the enemy wasn't that you were attacking, you wouldn't be attacked by the tower. Now it's been changed so that you should be attacked even if they are out of range but you're next to the tower, so it kind of like works next to the tower a bit more now. Also another change actually, when turrets switch from like minions to champions, so if the minion wave just dies, it used to be random, it could hit anyone, right? But now it's actually going to hit the closest champion attacking the tower. It's not random. These are actually quite good things, I think, to be honest, for pushing towers. Like it makes it easier for the tank to absorb and keep going with the second change, and the first one's going to make it harder to dive in theory. Well, at least it'll be like if you try and push them away and then you go ham after them as they're running away, I guess you're probably going to take more damage from the turret, so it'll probably catch a lot of people off guard. That's why I wanted to mention it. Anyway, let's get into the actual stuff now. The first one is Jace. I love Jace, you guys know that, but the buffs were his E, 40 mana cost now at all ranks, and his ultimate a 0.4 AD ratio added to the first hit after you swap. Jace's poke really hurts, like even in the lane phase, right? You have like your Ghost Blade, the AD arm pen kind of build is actually really good because it scales exactly how you want it to. Mid game you can easily take off like half of someone's health, but it has a long cooldown even with cooldown reduction. So I'm not really kidding, like it does a lot of damage, but it's gonna suck because you sit there waiting for a while. If you think about it, normal poke like Lux, Vel'Koz, Xerath and stuff like that, like they have multiple things to hurt from range, right? Like they follow up on the initial damage. You have the Lux bind and like ultimate to combo kill, or the Xerath ult or the Vel'Koz ult. Jace only has his Q, but then he has to kind of wait. And well, actually he does have a finisher, but it's in hammer form by diving in. In lane, that is no problem. It's actually a good thing. Diving in 1v1, and it's like a super good trade. You shock blast from range, you run through the gate, you Q to jump in, auto for the bonus damage, and E to knock back so he can just run away. The problem is more in team fights, you can't exactly do that, right? Jumping into 5 people unless you're gonna like one-shot someone with the combo. I actually think Jace is pretty good right now, like especially versus Gnar. Actually that matchup is really good for Jace if you play it properly and just knock him away when he jumps and stuff, but like any melee laners, actually I think Jace is good against. The problem is more like mid to late game really, so this is gonna help a little bit more with that, the buffs for him. Like once you have loads of items, that slam combo with auto when you jump in, it will do a lot more damage. I think Jace honestly is probably more of a top laner right now, but he could also be played mid as well, maybe even AD carry if you wanted to run like a cheesy poke kind of kill lane. I think actually with the Zyra this would be pretty cool. So next one is Vi, and there were 3 kind of buffs. So your passive, like the shield, is going to be up a bit more early, the Q cooldown is lower, and the knockback duration is up a little bit early, and finally your E, so when you actually level it up you get 2 charges instantly. So these are pretty nice things, probably more like quality of life. That's kind of how I would phrase it. Like they help her a little bit in the game, don't make her overpowered or anything, just easier to play. One of the problems with her is you don't have much mobility. Like a Gragas, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, Graves, Nidalee, like they all kind of leave Vi behind in my opinion. That's the problem she's had recently. Now this is where I say carry, because Triforce is so good on her, especially after the rework of it. So the cooldown reduction means more ults and Qs and stuff, and the attack speed now means more damage from your W passive. Warrior into Triforce is all the damage you're ever going to need. This is the build I actually recommend. Going like Cinderhulk, I see a lot of people do that, but in my opinion she's not built to be a tank. Like she's an off-tank damage source. You want to get this damage early so you can kill people, then tanky afterwards. Sterix if you're snowballing, Deadman's Visage, Banshees, like you have the damage to kill people early, which is very important, then tanky to survive ulting into the middle of a team. That's basically how it's going to go. Ever since Triforce got changed, I've said Vi was good. Like it's been hard to kind of stand out as a carry jungler, I guess, because others just do it a little bit better. These buffs though, combined with like others who got nerfed recently, it should be a lot better for Vi right now. Also as well, poke is actually coming back. So we've seen like these mid lane poke champions, or so are like Jinx and Kog'Maw as well. Vi is really good against them. Immobile mids are like free kills. Vel'Koz, Xerath, Victor especially. The reason I love her so much is because you can carry the game with damage while being the engage and being able to survive. Like it kind of ticks all of the boxes for being a reliable champion to climb with. So third up is going to be Azrael. He's got buffs to his passive. So the maximum attack speed you get now is 50%, 60 and 70 at levels 1, 7 and 13. You all know that I play a ton of Azrael, probably one of my 3 main AD carries, so little bias best, I guess, but just like putting that to one side here, he is still going to be better. So there are two main things, right? The first one is poke is coming back and you can fight poke with poke, so Azrael kind of does that. The second thing is there is a lot of AoE damage everywhere at the moment. Vel'Koz, Annie, Victor, and Nivea, the list keeps on going with champions who can hit multiple people, and the issue is kind of getting hit without even like them aiming at you. The reason that's so bad is because you have to get close to auto attack as a normal AD carry, right? You have to be in range to auto to do any damage, but the problem is if you're in range to auto, you're probably next to an ally and the AoE damage is going to clip you and hurt you. Ezreal does not have that issue because he can stay from range with his Q. That's where most of his damage comes from. So whenever like mages dominate play, long range ones at least, Ezreal is always going to be a lot better. You also have the mobility, of course, that's like one of Ezreal's biggest strengths, keeping yourself safe as well. So they're good when it's like is more threats, I guess, rather than tanks. That is kind of where his buff comes in though. So if tanks come back, Ezreal is going to be a bit better. He's not really a tank killer until like 5 items in my opinion. You need your Blade Throwing King, Muramana Transformed, and Last Whisper. The thing is, your autos are actually fine. They do a lot of damage with those 3, but they're short range and you have no attack speed. So you can't really compete with someone who has longer range, who crits and is attacking faster. Now this is where the passive really comes in. So the ultimate can get you instantly full stacks if you hit champions and minions as the fight starts. So 70% attack speed, way more than items will give anyway, so that's a really good start. It's mainly Blade Throwing King and Muramana though, the damage on those autos. So the percentage current health, remember, on the Blade Throwing King, and the bonus damage from Muramana. I guess the thing is here, like Ezreal is not an underrated champion for his like blue build poke style of gameplay, but he is an underrated champion, like a late game one where he actually shines in my opinion. That is just blue build as well. Triforce is going to get better with this change though. I'm still kind of testing this. So it's more damage for sure, 100% more damage, but it is more gold. Blue build is like, the reason it's so good is because it's more reliable. You have the poke like earlier into the game. It works just earlier in general and it's less gold. Triforce, Blade though, Muramana, Frozen Mallet, that is like a beast mode 4 item combo. You end it with the Last Whisper or Bloodthirst or something like that. It still has its major downsides though, like lacking kite until 4 items instead of 2. It's worse mid game in my opinion, but better late game for sure. I'm not sure if it's like 100% worth it, to be honest. Blue build is so good anyway, but if you want to like a more carry style of build, I guess that is actually going to be pretty good with Triforce. Okay, so the fourth one on here is going to be Evelynn. Her ultimate cooldown is going down a little bit. It means more ganks early. Well, kind of less risky, right? If you have no ultimate, it could go pretty wrong. That's going to be her slower way to engage. Eve is really slated as a crap tier champion, like completely poo. A bit like Foxdrop actually when he plays AD carry, but I guess that's another story. Anyway, truth is she's actually not. Just a bit weird to get used to and kind of like clunky gameplay wise, I think as well. In my opinion, it's very obvious that it was like an older champion from Riot. Anyway, she actually has a good win rate with certain builds. So it's like more glass cannon though, one-shot builds, and that's kind of the point. You get ahead early, you one-shot people. If you don't, you're kind of like average. It is a little bit risky because of that, but in my opinion, it's actually going to be easier this patch. Like the ultimate cooldown means more ganks. With the lead dragons, tower first blood, you can snowball easier. The champions in the general meta as well are normally immobile, but snowball very well. So you punish the enemies like immobility, they can't escape you, and you capitalize on your team's ability to snowball. It does sound a bit odd because Eve is like the typical, has an amazing game or terrible, I guess, but I don't think it has to be like that really. It's not that hard to gank people because they push, you're invisible, like you're sorted that way, and it's also the stealth part. Like they have no idea where you are unless you gank. It's constant pressure and mind games even if you don't realize it. The thing is, she's a different breed of carry jungler for sure. She doesn't scale through the game, but she does outperform everyone else early. Depends what you want, honestly. Not for everyone, but we could be seeing her a lot more. The last one is a little bit smaller, but Malphite. So the buffs were to his W, the cooldown down for a few seconds, the bonus armor it gives up 5%, and damage ratio up from 0.1 to 0.15. It's not the biggest stuff ever, I will admit that, but it's actually useful, and the damage increase is going to be quite nice as well. But like Malphite as a champion in general, I think is underrated when you play him correctly and you build smartly. That's super vague. I don't like using those phrases. What I mean is some people like just sit in lane, they don't do much, they ult over and over their lone opponent, they build the same every game. That is not good. He's also thought to be only good against AD, which is just not true anymore because he has the magic resist options now thanks to the Abyssal. Armor wise, you're going to have your Iceborne Gauntlet and Sunfire all doing decent damage as well, and that's actually kind of underrated, the synergy between Sunfire and the Abyssal combo. Sunfire is magic damage, Abyssal reduces their MR, so it actually makes the Sunfire do more. Iceborne Gauntlet also scales with armor, right? So just like most of your kit actually, it does kind of synergize quite well. Now he is one of the best anti-AD champions in the game, but we've seen a lot more AP come out recently for sure, which kind of pushed him down. Recently in 617 though, immobile AD carries and mids, as we said, easy ult targets, and they kind of like cannot get away from you. I guess that's the point. Like even after you ult them, they can flash away swaying kite, that's not really going to be that easy anymore. You actually do a lot of damage while absorbing a ton. So the awkward thing is kind of like, unless the AD carry is mega fed on the enemy team, they cannot kill you mid-game at all, and it's really, really bad to play against. I personally think he's actually flying under the radar a little bit anyway. When your team needs a tank and engage, there isn't really any better options right now. As long as you avoid like Trundle and Gangplank, you should be fine lane-wise as well. As soon as you get armor, you will outscale people, especially you're very good against Riven if you play it right early and don't die. You base and get Chain Vest as soon as possible. Sunfire, you don't fire early, and you can't do much after that point because you have so much armor. Riven will be more popular in 617 as well. Anyway, that's going to wrap up my underrated stuff this patch. Thank you for watching, and remember to check out Pawn Win, but for now, let's go to the robots.